And we should be live now. Hello everyone, I'm Alexandra. For the ones who don't know me, I'm a Mystic Sketch Game player and the Run It Once coach. And just so you know, I'm really not feeling great today. I think I got some virus, so excuse me if my thought process is a bit slow. My brain is just not working. And this is Paul.
Hey everyone, same. Mid-stakes cash game player and coach for Run It Once. So the hands that you'll be looking at today, some of my hands played at 200 and 500 now on PokerStars. I try not to play on that site too much because there's very good players. I think there's better options elsewhere. So games have been drying up and I want to get more 500 and now volume in. So playing against some tough opponents, and all of these hands have played against very good regulars at these stakes.
Alright, should we go through hands then?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have a look.
Okay, so the first hand, we 3-bet button against hijack open. I think this is fine. It's going to be a mix. We can call, we can 3-bet. It really depends on what strategy we play. I'm not sure if you have flats here or if you just 3-bet or fold.
Yeah, so this opponent, this was all regs at the table. I joined with a seat open to the right of me, hoping for recreational to come along, and it seems like I'm getting bum hunted at the moment because people don't know my screen name, and yeah, haven't played on there since 50NL. This was a reg that just joined just because I joined, and he was slightly break even, probably one of the weaker regs at the table. So looking to get into pots with him whilst I'm at the table, but not looking to stick around on a very good table.
All right, that makes sense. I think the more we can we expect this guy to be, the more I like the 3-bet, because I think we can expect some under 4-betting, maybe some mistakes post-flop, like not check raising enough, maybe calling a bit too many weak hands. So yeah, I think this is fine. Maybe with those reads I would even do it pure frequency. I don't think I would mind that. I see you gave up using 9 big blinds finally at these good tables.
Yeah.
And we face a cold 4-bet, which usually these suited connectors aren't pure 3-bets, but even if we pure 3-bet, they actually perform very well in 4-bet pots because they are never dominated, and when we hit a hand, it's very disguised and quite easy to win a stack. So if we do 3-bet these, I think they would be pure calls against 4-bets, maybe not 8-9 suited, as that's very dominated by ace king, but yeah, otherwise I would pure call as well. Any other thoughts pre-flop?
No, I'll agree with you so far.
Okay, we see a king 10-8 flop. This flop is very, very good for the 4-better. All king highs will be very good for him, not great for us, but yeah, we have a flush draw. And he goes for a check, which I feel like it's quite weird. I think maybe in theory we should have some checks on this board, especially in cold 4-bet pots, but I think simplifying to range bets is quite easy, and I think that's what most people do. So yeah, I didn't really expect this check here. What's your thoughts on the flop, on his strategy, on the opponent?
Yeah, so this guy's a very good 500 and reg. Would just expect a player to range bet this board. So same as you, really. I was hoping you would feel the same way here. You expect someone to do something and they don't, so it throws you off a little bit. So in this spot, when I think he's going to be going for close to range bet and he checks, without knowing anything about this guy, we can maybe try to read into that, but we don't know what his strategy is. So I just try to just play the way I think my range wants to play in this situation, and my hand as well. And with 4-5 of spades here, I think it'd be quite tragic if we went for a bet and got jammed on, because I think then we're going to have to call her off, but we're going to be up against quite a strong range. So in this spot, I decided to go for a check back. I think checking back here, I think we need to always guarantee ourselves to realize all of our equity. I think we're very often going to be able to get to the river. So yeah, I decided here to just play my hand basically how I think it wants to be played, and just go for a check.
I think that's interesting. So would you check this back and maybe bet higher flush draws that can just call off. Because in my mind, I was thinking, I think this makes for a fine bet. Probably, I mean, definitely not a pure bet, but I actually don't think these king high boards are going to be check raised very often, just because of how often they can be bet. And um, yeah, even if he's a good reg, I don't think this is just the kind of texture where we expect to see a lot of check raises. So due to that, I don't think I would be extremely concerned on getting check shoved here, although yes, it is a possibility, but I don't think will happen super often. And then, with 5 high, I think there's just like pretty much any folds we get would be definitely beneficial for us. So I'm not saying I don't like the check, but I do see the merits of betting, and I think putting this into a betting range would be fine as well.
Yeah, I think against weaker opponents, I wouldn't expect to get check raised at all. But against someone, so when I'm in the spot and I expect to just get range bet into and they check, then I guess the fear of getting check raised becomes a bit more apparent to me, because it's not really a line that I'm expecting to see in the first place. I'm expecting them to range bet. So, yeah, whilst I agree, usually people don't find enough check raises against the very good regs at 500. First of all, I'd have expected him to start betting, and then when he checks, maybe he has some read that people overstab or something, So when I do get check raised here, I don't really like it with 4-5. I would rather have a hand like Ace Jack of Spades or Queen Jack of Spades, which just have that extra bit of equity, right? Like if King Queen is going for a jam, obviously you've got the Ace High out. If you've got Queen Jack, you've got more outs as well. But with just 4-5 high, I decided to go for the check.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't saying, like he's weak and he's not gonna check raise enough. I was saying that, like, GTO speaking, I don't think this is gonna be a high frequency check raise here.
Yeah,
anyway,
makes
so
sense.
that's why I thought, well. Alright, the turn brings us a gut shot, and now we face a small bet. I don't think we should have many raises here. It's because I think most of our strong hands would bet the flop at a decent frequency, and it's just not the greatest board for us. It's not like the 7 helps us very much. I mean, yeah, we can have some 7-8 and some 7s, but yeah, I think I would just call here all the time. Do you have different thoughts?
No, I basically thought the same as well. I think I'm getting a very nice price to just realize all of my equity in position. Obviously, 6 helps us now as well as spades. If I jam here, I think I'm playing my hand in probably the worst way it wants to be played, because I'm probably just going to be getting called off by better draws and better hands. So, if villain has here ace 5 of diamonds, right, we're just in a very bad shape here when we jam, because he's just going to call that off if he has ace 4 of diamonds. And yeah, I just think against this price, being in position, I think just pure calling. I don't think I would have really any raises here.
Yeah, I think it's
specifically.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting spot. Maybe we could check it in a solver, because I'm thinking if we have some value here, like, well, I'm not sure how often we call ace king, maybe like king queen sometimes. I think on such a drawy board, some of our value hands would want to get it in here. Might be wrong. I don't study cold 4-bet pots all day long. But yeah, I'm thinking if we do want to have some value jams, maybe we do want to have some bluffs, and this one seems quite decent. That is because I'm actually not sure that at this SPR, if we shove, he's supposed to call stuff like ace 4 of diamonds. And now, if he's not supposed to call it and people in practice do, then it's obviously terrible to shove this. But yeah, I don't think all flush draws here are supposed to be calls.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sorry. Just a separate note from that. Did you want to finish anything there?
No, I was thinking if we want to have value raises, what bluffs we want to use, and if this is a good one or not. I was actually also wondering what he's supposed to call with against a jam. I think it's good questions.
Yeah, again, I think here just having more equity, I would put into a jamming range. So if I had checked the flop back with Jack 10 of diamonds, 9 10 of diamonds, 8 9 9 9 10 of diamonds, Jack 10 of diamonds, maybe some Queen 10 of diamonds. So those type of hands I'd prefer to shove. Again, I feel like this is in the spot where It's nice that we have the 6 out as well now, but I just feel like if we jam here, we're very often going to fold out all of the worst hands. Maybe not. Maybe
We
it's some
have
of his
five
turn.
high.
Sorry, yeah, that makes sense. I just think we're just going to be getting called by all better hands. Sorry. So as I said, if he has ace four, ace five of diamonds, I think obviously that's just a terrible spot to be in. Maybe he does fold some 10x or some jacks at some frequency or something, but yeah, I'm not sure. I think Harold has a nice thought here, and it's actually something I thought in game as well. Was wondering if the top of his range would be using a larger size in. So if he did go for a check on flop with King X or pocket queens, pocket jacks, I think those hands can just go for a bigger sizing on this turn. I think it's very dynamic. Yeah, what do you think of his turn size, and would you read into that much against a very good reg?
I don't know really, like I wouldn't use this strategy. I'm not exactly sure because I just range bet these boards. I'm not really sure how delayed c-bets are supposed to be played here. I would think that on such a drawy board, on one hand, yes, we don't want to put a lot of money into the pot, but because there are so many bad rivers, I'm not sure you want to go like super thin for value and start betting this size. So I think intuitively going a bit larger with our range would make a bit more sense. Another thought that I have here is, I mean, I don't think there's necessarily in favor of shoving because he might just go wider. But like, maybe this guy, if he doesn't know you, and as you say, they are probably bum hunting you, thinking you're a fish or a new player in the field, maybe he's not really playing his strategy. Maybe
Yeah,
he's playing a bit more like his hand. Um,
that's that was actually something that went through my mind in game as well. Obviously, as I said, the table filled because of me. And yeah, I got to this point and I really did feel like this might be just a guy playing his hands against an unknown. So yeah, I definitely think that could be what's happening because we do assume someone's going to be better range on flop. Then when it gets to the turn, using this size, yeah, it becomes a bit weird. I think this size is just not very good in that everything in my range has a very easy decision here, right? If I have a hand that's 7x, I just have a very easy continue with a few outs. I don't really see what is getting put in a tough spot with this size, in my range.
yeah, I agree. Well, all in all, I would say that I'm not sure if shoving here would be a good play at some frequency, but I'm definitely sure calling is not bad. So, yeah, I would probably just decide to call because I know that's not a punt, and maybe I would, mark the hand for after the session and see, what we're supposed to shove here and how the spot is supposed to be played.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I would just call and avoid making a punt. And yeah, now that he checks, I mean, I don't see how we could check this back, to be honest.
Yeah, so my thoughts here. Again, right, villain's taken a very, very passive line, check flop, small, bet on turn, check river. It's worrying in a way because he's going to have probably a lot of maybe hands like ace jack or ace queen in this line. But at the same time, I think I'm going to have quite a few combos of, well, I'm going to have a few combos of ace queen here. I'm going to have a lot more 9x than him. I'm going to have the 8-9. I'm going to have the 9-10. I'm going to have pocket nines in this line. I'm also going to have, as I said, maybe some of those, Jack 10 type of hands, King Jack as well. Probably just check back flop, call turn. Maybe there's some racing actually on turn with King Jack. But yeah, I just think on this river, it's actually a very good river for me overall. And villain obviously has shown that he's probably arriving here with the weaker portions of his range. So I think, yeah. And again, I have 5-high. I don't think it's ever going to be terrible. So I do just go to stick it in here.
Yeah.
And villain went for a fold. So yeah, I tagged this hand because I actually wanted to see what you thought about an opponent when you expect him to range bet flop and he doesn't, and then he sizes down turn, and yeah, just your overall thoughts really.
Yeah, well, you got my overall thoughts. Would you like to see how this hand is supposed to be played in a solver, or just move to the next
Yeah,
one?
we could have a quick look and just see if everything's all right. Again, right? Maybe we're missing something, and it's not meant to be a range bet on flop or something.
Yeah, I think it's just an interesting spot to look at. Again, not the type of spot you look at every day. So, um, it is button small blind. I don't think I can.
So what you can do here is if you come off this,
Yeah, I need to
um,
go to solutions library and get the ranges from there, right?
yeah, that's the way I do it. If you use the smaller ranges, no, these ones, use the smaller ranges. This one doesn't contain as much 453 bet and pre. So down one, 2.5x and smaller.
Where is smaller? Here.
No, up. Don't rush. Up
This
to
one.
100 general. Yeah, there we go. Click on that one. Perfect.
So cutoff raise.
No hijack.
The
Button,
three
three
bet
bet.
here is a bit bigger, but so you see all of these are pure calls, while 9-8, as it's dominated by ace king, very often it just folds. King 10-8, right?
Yeah. Yeah, as Harold says here, you want to be careful with pre-flop ranges here because it's super condensed. So obviously any change in pre-flop ranges is going to have an impact on strategy. But obviously, we don't know what his range is. We're roughly at where our range would be, I think. So yeah, as you can see here, the solver is just going for range bet. So
Yeah. So I think it's kind of useless to look further, like.
yeah, it's probably just going to be quite far from the game tree, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Okay, let's just move to the next hand then.
Okay. Okay, yeah, this is one of two interesting small blind versus big blind hands. I know you've been working on small blind versus big blind, so yeah, we'll look at this one first, and then the next one after this is quite a big punt. So yeah, see what you think.
Alright. I'm curious now. So, you open 2.5 because.
Just general, when I play in softer fields, I want to get into more pots with players. When I open to 2.5x, they have to continue very wide here. So yeah, I don't want to give any spoilers at the types of hands, but yeah, people have to continue wider. They're not able to three bet you as much because they're just getting better odds on a pre-flop call. So against weaker players, I want to be in more pots and play against them as much as I can. It's obviously nice not to get three bet as much as you should as well. Yeah, I could maybe change this against the better pool than what I usually play.
Yeah, alright. So, I guess we're also allowed to open wider when we go this size.
Yeah, so we open wider, they defend wider. Obviously, if we understand that, and we've done some work on that, and we know how wide they're supposed to be, I think it can impact post flop quite a bit as well.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I did.
Oh, can you take us back to the hand history replayer? Sorry,
Oh.
guys.
I'm
Right.
sorry.
So yeah, as you can see here, I opened King 8 off to 2.5 big blinds. Big blind just called. And this is actually the player that we see the punt against as well at 500. So yeah, don't know if it ends up being any sort of dynamic. I don't know.
Alright, so my thoughts on this flop would be, well, first of all, I did do a bunch of study recently on blind versus blind bots, but as you say, um, even on my regular study, I've tried to play a bit with ranges, and let's say we have a tighter big blind or a wider big blind, and actually the strategy changes quite a lot, especially on some particular textures. So here, I think the ranges would actually be quite different, especially if we're playing against a good reg. He's probably gonna have way more offsuit combos, a much wider range, and also our range is going to be wider. So in most of the games I play, unless I play against a very good player, I would just range bet this board very small because the defense is not that intuitive and it's very easy to overfold and under check raise and make mistakes later as well. So yeah, I think against most weak passive regs, unless I think he's a very good guy, I would just range bet here if I open 3x. But if I open 2.5x, and especially as being out of position, I assume we're going to have to lower our frequency as well, because we're also going to have more trash on this board. Yeah, I'm not sure. Have you looked at the difference in strategies when you open 2.5x compared to 3x in the spots?
So one of the things we just have to take into account here is that when he defends wider, he's going to be defending more of those 6x offsuit hands. So something like 6-4 off is supposed to be quite a frequent defend. Jack 6 off, Queen 6 off, 10-6 off as well. So a lot of those 6x hands which connect to this board makes any 6 any board that contains a 6 obviously much worse for us. So in this spot, just knowing that my range is much wider, his range is wider but connects to this board quite a lot. Again, Queen high, so the Queen 4 off, Queen 5 off type of hands are supposed to be pre-flop defense as well. So on this board, I'm just I'm not living life on this board basically, and I would try to be careful with my C bets here, prioritizing obviously a club first and foremost, and then maybe if I have a spade in my hand, then that can be useful on run outs that go spade. So in this spot, I'd rather have King 8 with the King of Spades if I'm looking to bet. I think it's nice to have King 8 in your betting range. Sometimes it's going to have some interaction with both the Queen and the 10 on some runouts, and it's also going to have some interaction with the 6 and the 10 as well. So, turns that go a 7 or a 9, I think we have quite a nice barrel with King 8. But again, just trying to be selective here, just because I know how wide both ranges are in this spot, and how good this board is potentially for the big blind if he's defending correctly.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I think it's worth mentioning, having a club here, or even a spade, as you say, the king of spades, definitely having a club or a spade is better than having it on. But it's not only because of the runouts and bringing us better, some good runouts to barrel sometimes, it's also because if we think of big blind's continuing range, he's going to continue hands that have a club or a backdoor flush draw. Therefore, when we block those, he's going to have a bit more folds and a bit less continues, which is definitely what we want when we bet a hand like King 8.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's really important and overlooked as well.
Okay, so here we decide to check, which I like. I don't think I would bet this hand pretty much ever. I would bet very often if I had a club, and sometimes, as you say, with the King of Spades, this one I think I would just pure check.
Yeah, villain decides to go for a check.
And now we see 3 turn. Clubs. What's your thoughts here? Or what's your strategy?
Yeah, so in this spot again, just going to be careful. I think in position is generally going to want to stab flop when they have clubs, but also so with the offsuit versions, I think obviously clubs I think are generally going to be a little bit better for them, and the 3 here. Just not really interacting with my hand, not really great for my range either. So I think, I just want to be careful again. Super wide ranges would prefer to have some form of equity if I'm betting here. So if I had a hand like 4-5, I would prefer to bet that. Or if I had a 7-5, 7-4 type of hand, I think just betting with some form of equity in mind. This, I think it just didn't seem like an attractive bet in game. I think villain is going to have a lot of ace-x that is going to be able to call here. Don't think I could start betting for a big size if I do bet here. So yeah, just ended up going into my check range here.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think the King of Diamond is probably not great, as he's probably going to check back a bunch of King X that might fold here, and yeah, this is just blocking those. And also, this board is not great for us, but on the flop, but it's still better for us than for the villain. So that means our betting frequency will still be decent. When we don't bet, though, and then the turn doesn't really improve our range pretty much at all, we should actually just have a lot of give-ups. And yeah, I don't think this has anything to go with it. We have King High, once in a blue moon, we might win a showdown. So yeah, I think we should actually have quite a bunch of give-ups, and people don't really, I don't think they give up enough. Therefore, that's why these delayed lines, delayed c-bet lines, delayed stab lines tend to be quite overbluffed in these configurations, just because of how wide the ranges are and how easy it is to not give up stuff without showdown value. But yeah, we're playing against a good reg from what you say, so I don't think we should go for overbluffing or anything. I think checking is fine.
Yeah, Harold Fowler has said as well, occasionally we have the best hand here. And something else I would just like to note as well is I'd prefer to just stab here with some hands that are going to get King 8 offsuit to fold, right? So you want to bet here with some 9 high or some 8 high hands or even jack high hands, right? Because you're going to get more folds from these type of hands in villain's range, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Obviously less of a folding range, less of a there's less worse less. Fucking hell, I can't get my words out here.
Are
So
you glitching?
I feel like I am, yeah. When I bet with King 8 here, there's obviously less better hands that are going to fold, if that makes sense, than when you bet, say, 7 or 8 high hand here. There's obviously more hands in villain's range that are better, but that are going to fold. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I feel like I was glitching then. Okay,
Glad you found your words. Okay, it goes check check.
we got it in the end.
And the river is a 5 of clubs. Again, I'm not exactly sure how this spot should be played in theory, but thinking of our range, I think most of our club hands would bet the flop or the turn. I don't actually think we get here with too many club hands. And again, just like the turn, it's so easy to get here with trash and just start massively over bluffing this texture. Again, king high, I don't think it has much to go with it. I think I would just give this up. I don't think our betting frequency by the river would be very high, but actually, I'm not exactly sure what's our thinnest value bet here, because I think we can probably bet thinner than a club, right?
Yeah, so my thoughts in game were that I definitely think here ace 10, jack 10, like is probably a value bet if we choose a small sizing. Obviously, not if we're going for pot. I think we could maybe go quite big, go close to pot or 75% with a queen. But I think if we're going for like a block bet here, I think 10x could potentially be a value bet. And we will get here with a lot of 10x. I also think that this is potentially a spot that maybe gets overfolded. And I just also want to touch on, we obviously don't have a lot of clubs that get here to the river, as Alexandra said, but also I don't think that villain necessarily gets here with a lot of one club hands either, right? So
Yeah.
if we go back to pre-flop and I open 2.5x, and I said, villain's going to have to defend with quite wide with the offsuit portion of his range, so he's going to have some, king 4 with a club here. I think those may be a stab on the flop, definitely, some sort of stab on the turn as well. So I don't think that villain gets here with a lot of club hands either as well. Maybe some ace-x hands, right? I think offsuit ace-x is probably the biggest portion of his club range here, because they're on the turn, they still just have showdown. They can still river the best hand. So I think when we get to the river, that's probably the only club hand we have to be worried about, is probably ace-x with a club. And then apart from that, I think he's probably lacking in club hands.
I mean, I think he could also have some low pairs with the club, and maybe some pairs with the club, like, I don't know, 6-7 with
Yeah,
7
those.
of clubs,
Yeah,
something like that. 10, 7, 10, 8 sometimes. So he can have some clubs, but again, the ranges are still very wide. So that doesn't mean, like, if he still has some clubs, it doesn't mean like we can't value bet. Like, when we value bet so thin, we actually should get called by better hands a significant amount of the time, and the bet is still good. So yeah, if he has some clubs, it doesn't mean we can't value bet thin. So yeah, I do agree that probably something like 10x could be a value bet here, although it really depends on how he's playing his range, because on the flop, I think he should be quite polar, so he should probably check back a lot of queen x and 10x, and maybe on the turn he could start being a bit more mergy. But yeah, I guess how thin we can value bet also depends on how strong he's checking back the flop and the turn. And the flop, at least, I don't think it's a very mergy texture, so he should check back some stronger hand.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I ended up going for a block here, and this ends up just turned into a funny hand, right? So I go for the block here, thinking that I can value bet 10x, and then villain click raises me.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what my thoughts were in game, right? So my thoughts in game were, obviously I didn't have much of a thought process in those, and I should, right? I definitely should, but I didn't have a lot of thought process in the 6-7 off with the 7 of clubs, or the 10-7 off with the 7 of clubs, right? But there's a couple of things that are going into thought process, even if that isn't in here, is that I think a lot of clubs are just going to be worth a lot more. I think any club here is worth much more than a click raise. I don't think that villain here is going to be click raising me with a queen either. Now, maybe he is, right? Click raising me with a queen. Maybe he is just going for a very small size with a club, which again, I think they can just go for 5-6 big blinds here. So I ended up like flicking this in on the basis that I don't have to be very good very often. I mean, what was, if you go back a moment, I only have to be good like, what was it, 12, 13% of the time.
Yeah.
And taking into account that the guy should have like, I mean, I don't want to say his hand, but like, yeah, that he should be very wide with a bunch of offsuit hands that maybe get here and just do something funky. I guess, what do you think of my assumptions, at least, that like he's probably not going to raise a queen and any club goes bigger?
Yeah, I'm not sure if any club goes bigger. I wouldn't really count on that, but I would count on the fact that he just doesn't get here with too many good hands. And as you say, like if we go back to pre-flop, you open so small, his range is going to be so wide. Yeah, I don't think this can be bad because like I thought maybe you're bit by bluffs, but like I don't think unless he finds this with like king nine sometimes. Yeah, an ace could probably just call. So yeah, I think I actually like this kind of
Yeah, there was
fun
actually
hand, but
there was actually just a couple of combos in my mind. They were just like king 2, king 4 offsuit without a club, and then the hand that he actually ended up turning upwards. So yeah, you can have a look. So yeah,
yeah,
jack 7 off as well.
nice hand.
Yeah. So before we go on to the absolute punt, that is the next hand.
I will be back in 2 minutes, and I'll let you tell people. Okay.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So yeah, before we move on to the next hand, which is definitely a big punt, there's a discount as ever when we run these streams if any of you want to join up to run it once. So I'll just put that into the chat and use code STREAM at checkout, and you can get 1 month free. So you sign up for a month, you pay for a month, and then your second month is free when you use this. So it's going to be available for the length of the stream, and I think maybe half an hour to an hour afterwards as well. What else can I say? Yeah, so this next hand that we got is quite interesting because, yeah, in game, I was thinking about a couple of different sizings on the river. We end up going for a stack. We get called off in a bit of a disastrous spot. So, yeah, we'll see what you guys think of that. And I think Alex might be coming back now. But yeah, if you guys as well have any thoughts on videos that you guys would like to see for the essential plan on Run It Once, be sure to let us know, because yeah, me and Alexandra are still trying to create some videos for Run It Once and would like to produce hands or videos that you guys would like to see. And we will just wait a few minutes for Alexandra. Stephanie says she's here for the punts. Nice, good. I'm glad. Yeah, it was such a shame this hand. I felt. I actually put into the chat, what the fuck. I'm playing a 500, and I put in there like, what the fuck, because of what happened on the river. And then the very good reg was like, yeah, I thought exactly the same. So I was thinking like, what the fuck was he thinking? He was thinking, what the fuck was I thinking? And then I said I was already leaving the table, and I forgot to click sit out next big blind, and he said to me, I thought you said you were leaving this table. I said, well, I'm staying now because I realized there's a spot on the right side of me, which I thought was quite funny. But then he didn't. I don't think he ended up replying to that. And I was joking. He's a very good guy. What do I think of villains sizing on the river? Yeah, thanks for the question as well, so I'm not just babbling. Would I ever use that sizing? I think that sizing could be used potentially, as I said, with maybe a queen, right? A queen that's that gets to the river, and I think there should be a bunch of queen X that gets to the river. I think they could use that sizing because I really shouldn't have any clubs, and any of his clubs want to go bigger. I think his two pair can go bigger as well. Um, so yeah, I don't like his sizing if he's trying to rep club, but if he's repping a queen, which he very well maybe, I think it's fine to do that click raise with a queen. But yeah, Alex is back, so we can jump into the next hand, which we'll make sure is the punt hand. So let's skip this one. This one's not the punt.
No.
And we skip this one. This is not the punt either. And we get to the punt.
All right.
Okay.
Did you let everyone know about our cool promotions?
Yeah. So we give the people what they want, and so again, this is interesting because this hand was played against the same villain in the last hand, and we're both using a similar strategy in the small blind. So as you can see here, he opens to 2.7 big blind, so he's just keeping my range wide, just like I did in the last hand. So we assume this guy knows what he's doing. Blind is blind.
Yeah, I think this hand against the 3x would be a 3-bet sometimes. Once he goes smaller, I think as we go polar in the big blind, right, the bottom of our range, of our defending range also goes lower. So this probably becomes a pure call, and maybe we want to start betting stuff like queen 7 offsuit, queen 8 offsuit, maybe a bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
So we call and we flop trips. What a life. How did you punt this one?
Well, we'll see. We'll talk about it. We'll go through, see how I punted.
Yeah, so first of all, I think this check here is quite weird. This board can be very, very close to range bet. So yeah, I don't know. Do they think they play against the fish, or what's going on?
Yeah, so this is the thing, right?
I mean, after the king 8 call.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, again, in game, you expect someone to range bet this board, right? When they don't, you can maybe take some things away from their range. At lower stakes, I would definitely start making, I would start to make big deviations if I saw a showdown here, depending on his hand, because this is just a board that he can range bet. But at 500 NL against a good reg, maybe this guy is just, maybe he has some exploits against population or something, right? So, yeah, in this spot, once villain goes for a check, I'm thinking here that I don't want to be betting very often, right? So I don't want to be using a very small size. It's such a good board for our opponent. I think that even though he's checked here in a spot that he should likely range bet, I think here I still just want to choose a bigger size in here. So I think I go for maybe 60%-ish. Oh, okay, I don't. Okay, I go half pot, which again, I think I should go maybe a little bit bigger. I think half pot's not too bad. But basically, I don't think that I should be using a 33% slicing, because this is just not the type of board that is really good for me. Although again, once he's opening for the smaller sizing, as mentioned in the last hand, I am going to be defending more of those King X hands, right? So those King 2 off, King 3 off, King 4 off, King 5 off type of hands, and those Queen 4 off, Queen 5 off, King 6 off type of hands as well. So I do connect to this board probably a bit more than in a normal sim where 3 big blinds is the open.
Yeah. I think I would actually like to see a bigger sizing here, because as you say, this will be a very low frequency bet for us, and I don't think that's the kind of board where we want to start betting mergy. So yeah, I don't think the smaller sizing make much sense, and because our betting frequency is going to be quite low here, I think we actually want to check back a decent amount of trips. Maybe if we go up to like Queen Jack, Queen 10, we want to bet almost pure, but I think this one is also not going to be a pure bet. I'm not sure if you would bet it pure or not.
No, I definitely would have checks here with Queen 9, with Queen X. Queen 9, though, not 100% sure. I definitely would start checking back a lot of my weaker Queen X, right? But Queen 9 is, towards the higher higher portion of my Queen X range, so yeah.
Yeah, I think this is also probably fine to bet all the time. It's just worth noting that, on these textures, people don't really tend to check back trips enough, and they should have checkbacks with trips at quite a decent frequency.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, he calls. No, I assume he doesn't donk. And yeah, as played, I don't think I would ever check this back. And yeah, and at this point, I think most of my batting range would be a queen x, maybe some good king x. So I think I would go with my range around pot. And yeah, I think this hand, that's what I do with it as well. I'm not sure if you have different thoughts.
Yeah, no, same again. In this spot, I think same as you. I think I was thinking the same, right? Does King Jack want to get in here as a bet, right? If I do, then I think pot is a good size. If I'm just going for Queen X, I think maybe just a slight over bet here. And again, maybe King Jack here is worth just a slight over bet. We're not going to triple that hand, so 130% with King Jack, I think would make some sense. Obviously, our position is going to have well, I'm not sure what he's going to have when he should be range betting or close to range betting, but he's going to have obviously a lot of weaker King X. He's going to have pairs that I'd have to call, maybe some draws as well. So yeah, I think I went for a slight over bet here, thinking that I'm really polarized into the strongest King X. Oh, okay, I don't. I pot. Okay.
You don't really remember what you did in his hands, do you?
No, I'm just thinking about the river.
Yeah, I think a phenomenon that you see on some of these paired boards, I'm not sure how much it applies in this exact scenario, is that we don't want to start overbetting big all that often just because, when we have a queen or even a king, a good king, we kind of block, like when we have our value range, we kind of block a lot of the hands that we want to call. At least that's something that you see quite often in, let's say, if we defend big blind against an in-position raiser. And I think the principle might apply here as well. So I think I like pot more than overbet. As you say, it also allows us to value bet some king x. Um, and yeah, I think it puts his range in a bit of a tougher spot because like most of his weak holdings can just fold much easier to an overbet.
Yeah, I think if we're going pot, I think maybe around maybe Queen 9, Queen 10 is probably the bottom of that value range, right?
For pawn, no, I think we can bet lower queen x from time to time.
Sorry, King 9, King 10.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, he calls, and now he checks.
Okay.
How did you punt this? Did you check
Well,
back the
it's
river?
no, it's a punt based on just what happened on the river, right? So I got here, and obviously my hand's worth a value bet, and I couldn't decide whether I wanted to go for pot or whether I wanted to have a jam here. I thought that um, I thought that Queen 9 was in like a really weird spot in that I think Queen Jack, right, is like I think easily worth a jam. I think Queen 10 is worth a jam as well. Queen 9 then I feel like is maybe getting a bit too thin, but then I do still expect Villain to have some, Queen 8, some Queen 5, Queen 4 suited type of hands in his range. He's going to have worse Queen X. And I also thought that if I jammed here, I would actually be making some King X indifferent rather than like I thought that Queen X would be calling any size in basically, and I thought that I'd be making King X indifferent with a jam. So I went for a jam. Um, not that button, not that button. You see his result if you do. Not that button. yeah. No, what are you doing? Yeah, that button. There we go. So yeah, so I went for a jam here, and the reason that I think the reason it definitely becomes a punt is that Villain here used his whole time bank. And obviously, once he's going into the last seconds of his time bank, I'm crying out for a call. And he ended up calling me here with a very last second call with Queen 10. Um, so
What?
this obviously becomes a punt then, right? Because if I'm value jamming Queen 9 and he only just about makes the call with Queen 10, then he's probably going to be folding. Well, he may then end up just folding all of his weaker Queen X. Now, maybe he was thinking about blockers in some way here that a 10 is probably not very good to call in that I should be bluffing with maybe some 9, 10 or Jack 10 here. Maybe that was his thought process. I checked this afterwards in Pio, and basically all of his Queen X should just be a call here. At least in Pio, there wasn't any blocker effects going on. So Yeah, I think it becomes a punt just because obviously, I nearly got him to fold a better hand, and he's probably not going to ever really call me with the king X hand that I think he's indifferent with. When I checked it with Pio as well, the jams did start at Queen 10. Queen 9 was just going for a pot, and Queen 10 had like the jam coming in um, at some frequency. So yeah, I guess I was gonna see what you thought about jamming Queen 9 here. Obviously against this opponent, I think it's a punt. But what would you think against a normal player at 500 and now? I'm like, I don't know. We could read into a few different things, right? Once he checks this flop with Queen 10, what do you think of this?
Um, well, if he's a good player, I think he's probably just mixing, and in a mergey mixing range, you just have a low frequency check with everything. When we bet high frequency, and then you just have a few checks, and you just have a few checks with everything. So yeah, if this is his strategy here, I think it's fine to check this sometimes. Although I still wouldn't expect he does it very often. And yeah, even if these are good drugs, I still think it's quite easy to bet a bit too many of your queen X on the flop and not play like this. So I think it's quite unlikely he has a better hand. I would say this would be around the threshold for jamming. Although it's curious that even though he's supposed to call all of his queen X against the jam, we're still not jamming queen 9 in a solver. So I think what I would ask myself is on the turn, what does the solver call with on the turn? Therefore, what does he get here with on the river? Because I think if he's overfolding the turn, I am not sure how wide he's supposed to call, but if he's overfolding the turn, he might just get to the river with a stronger range, which is probably better for us shoving, right? Because he's going to have more calls proportionally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't
maybe
think.
maybe we can just quickly look at this. Just run it through GCO with AI. Maybe it comes with a slightly different output as well. Again, the problem here is we're not going to have 2.7x ranges, right? So both players are going to be slightly tighter on the flop.
Yeah. Um,
We can
yeah.
take a quick look and see. Um, No, the problem is that on the river I'm fully expecting to sometimes lose against Queen 10, Queen Jack, right? That like infrequently checks flop, but you just assume they're going to be a snap call. So when the time is running down, and I'm like, come on, baby, just call me, like this is great. And then I call, and then he calls, and he beats me. I was like, this is devastating. We're on a King Queen Queen.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he wasn't tanking. Like you never know what he was actually doing, or maybe his battery's mouse run down, or something like that. I don't think he would ever be folding that hand like it's the top of his range.
Yeah, one thing I think that's quite interesting here is that you see Queen 10 going for, like, when you just look at this range, Queen 10 going for one of the highest check frequencies. I think that's really interesting because I guess that's going to be because imposition is going to stab a lot with 10x, right? The 9-10s, the Jack 10s, type of hands. What do you think?
Well, if that's the case, we don't really want to check a 10, right? Because we want him to have a 10 so he can stab. So I assume it's actually the other way around, no?
Well, whether you have a 10 or not, right? Like, you'd still check with that hand,
I don't
I'd
know. Like,
assume.
I wouldn't read too much into this. It's just. Like, it's just some suits. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's gonna be very, very difficult to implement this in practice and think.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not advocating for implementing this for sure.
Yeah, so again, I'm not really sure what he's doing, and apparently, once he does check, we can go way mergier than I thought we would. And for a small size, but
Yeah, yeah.
again, this is like the kind of spot like the other one where the bet was just 100%. The output is probably going to be very different here, but like, we can still check.
Yeah, maybe just change the size and just so we're a little bit closer to what it was by river. I think it's like 51 or 2, whatever. And yeah, as you mentioned here, which I think is quite important, just how much Queen X is checking back, right?
Yeah. And see, like, no check raises. That's why I was saying in the other 4-bet spot as well, when you have these boards that you just see bet very, very frequently, when you check, you don't really have check raises at all, GTO speaking at least. So, yeah, I wouldn't be a huge concern. The turn was offsuit 7. Nailed it! The sizing.
The sizing, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, where's the threshold? So we see, okay, well, yeah, this is quite weird because obviously you see King 9, King 10, King Jack mostly going for a check here. So, yeah, so I guess it's not really because we're centering it around the strongest King X, right?
yeah, I think it's the blocker effect mostly. And I mean, still, if you look at DV, you are allowed to bet King X, like except for the clubs. The EV is pretty much the same, so yeah, it does allow us to bet some King X. You see King 9 is bet sometimes. And our betting frequency is still very low, which, I mean, I guess in practice it's gonna be a bit different because we thought we're not gonna bet this mergy, right? So if we bet more polar on the flop, then our big blind our betting frequency on the turn would also increase, right? Because like we have a more polar range, not so mergy. But yeah, did you wanna add anything?
No, that's fine.
Okay, and river was a 6, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So yeah, here it seems like any Queen X can shove at some frequency, especially if it doesn't block backdoors.
yeah, slightly different output from what I got when I used Pio. But I guess okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. Maybe it wasn't a total punt.
Oh wait,
maybe.
wait! No, this is not a shove. It just uses pot and 3/4.
Oh shit! Yeah, I missed. Okay, yeah, maybe change that for me to get a 67% out of the way and pot and all in. Thanks, Alexandra. I was feeling good about myself for a second.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's just potting. Okay. Yeah, so again, right, slightly different output from Bio again, but now makes me feel even worse. Nothing's going for this. Nothing's going for this jam here. Obviously, we'll look at what happens when we do go for the different sizes on the river. I do just think the pot is just better anyway. When I looked at Pio, that's where like a lot of King X just has to be calling. Obviously, when you go for pot, you do still have to find out position calling with some King X, but it's very often a fold. So I think just going for pot is just a better size overall.
Yeah, I think I agree. And also, again, this thing that you kind of block a lot of the hands that you want to get called by.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I like the pot.
Can you just click on all in and see what's supposed to be happening if we jam? Okay, yeah, it does still show. I mean, yeah, as you can see here, Queen 10 off is actually mixing, so
Yeah, this is not gonna be super accurate. Like.
yeah, I know it's not gonna be accurate, but yeah, I was just wanting to see mostly if King 7, these King X hands, sorry, are still like mixing calls, and they are. But then if you look at pots here on the river, you just see that these become, I think, much more frequent, obviously, calls. And then he's
Even
supposed
a
to do some
shove.
jamming now. Well, yeah. I don't think you'll find in game someone then like check jamming Queen 10. Like I think you'll find obviously King Queen and Ace Queen going for check jam, but probably not Queen 10.
Yeah, maybe. Alright then, should we wrap it up here and leave everyone with the memory of your amazing band?
Yeah, sounds good. I think we still have another, as you saw, we skipped through 2 or 3 hands. So maybe we could look at those in the next stream. Again, just looking at some more hands. Um,
Yeah,
and
let's
again,
keep
as
those for the next one.
someone said in the stream, they'd like to see us do these a little bit more often. So yeah, hopefully we're going to be getting back to doing these once a week. So yeah, if any of you guys have any hands that you'd like to get reviewed, you can put it in the forum section in Run It Once, and we can get in contact and look at some of your hands. You could also join our Discord and give us some hands there. So I'll just link the Discord for you guys if you'd like to join that, or put in the Run It Once Discord as well. That's everything from me, Alex.
Yeah, don't forget about the promotion that's available during the stream on Run It Once. You can get a free month of Essential or Elite if you subscribe for one, so you get another free one on top if you use the code STREAM at checkout, and Paul is going to also link this in the chat. Yeah, we've both been quite busy recently. I've been moving, had a bunch of technical issues with my mic, with my computer, internet, like everything. So we couldn't do this super regularly, but as Paul said, we're hoping to get into a more regular schedule with this.
Yeah, so thanks for joining, and we'll see you all next